This is the song of Halak, my father. It's about his life on the tundra, searching, hunting, and living off the land.
Order in the court. All rise. His Lordship, the Honorable Mr. Justice Jack Sissons, presiding. Everyone please be seated. Court is in session.
As the clerk has proclaimed, this is a sittings of the Territorial Court of the Northwest Territories. The sitting of this court is being held to try an accused person. This woman is entitled to be tried by a jury of her peers. Our first step is to arraign the accused, but before I do that, as the accused an interpreter?
Yes, my lord.
The accused will be arraigned.
Will you stand up, Kikkik? You, Kikkik, of Northwest Territories, stand before the Honorable Mr. Justice Jack Sissons of the Territorial Court on this 14th day of April, 1958. In that you, Kikkik, Eskimo number E1-472, at Hennick Lake, on or about the 8th day of February, did murder the man called Utek. Further, that you, Kikkik, Eskimo number E1-472, on the 16th day of February, 1958, did unlawfully, by criminal neglect, cause the death of your daughter, Nesha, and did unlawfully abandon your daughter, Anakatha, so that the life of the said child was endangered.
I'm Elisapee Karetak. I'm the youngest daughter of Kikkik. And I was a 1.5-year-old baby on my mother's back at the time of the starvation and the murder and the trial. Today I'm 43. I'm on leave as principal of the school here in Inuk. My mother never told me about her past. I only found out when I was a teenager, just a year before she died. I was coming home from school. I was still in school, but my sister's a little bit older than me. She was already out of school, and she was hired to clean up some houses. And on my way home, she called me over and said, "Come here, come. I found a storybook about our mother." I said, "What story? What story about our mom? In a book? How come she never mentioned it? How come she never even give a hint? Why would she do this? We talk about things, but she never mentions this." And I was quite puzzled and depressed about it, because why would my mother keep things from me? But I don't know why, but I never questioned her. When I looked at her, and I know something about you, but she doesn't know I know it. And I was puzzled for the very longest time. I felt deprived And then one year, the person I was talking to after I told her the story, she said, you know, maybe your mother loved you too much. She loved you enough to save you from all the grief. I wrote to Sterling Lyon when my baby was born to tell him naming is very important. It's very important in Inuit culture. And because you were my mother's lawyer, I named my baby boy after you.
Mr. Interpreter, does the accused understand the charges?
Yes, she does.
Kikkik, how say you to these charges? Do you plead guilty or not guilty?
On behalf of the accused, I enter a plea of not guilty.
I had put it off for many, many years. I didn't know how to start looking for answers to the questions I had. I didn't know how to start dealing with the hurt and the shame. I wanted to start looking for people who were involved and start seriously looking for answers. And this is how this documentary started. It's my search for the answers. The first time I found out about my mother's past was through The Desperate People, written by Farley Mowat. He spends his summers in Cape Breton, and I went to meet him there. The morning I was going to meet him, I was actually sick in the stomach. I wanted to back out, but when I saw him and I heard his voice, I felt right at home right away.
There you are. You see people you know? Of course you do.
Yeah, two people.
And on the right is your father.
I've never really seen him full length.
Well, you know, he was a big man. He was as big as, he was probably the biggest man in the group.
My halak, my boy, is tall. I can make a connection here now.
You see why.
And my brother is tall, so.
That was at Windy River, just after we arrived there. And we were getting settled, and all the men from the Halmu camps came down to visit us and helped us to get established and moved our stuff around for us and told us what to do. And this is a picture of us when the camp was being set up. Everybody, that looks like a picture out of the colonial period of Central Africa, with all the natives carrying the heavy loads, you know, and the white man up in front.
Leading the way.
Leading the way.
Don't know where to go.
No, I didn't either. We didn't know.
Okay, let me tell you the reason why I wanted to meet you. I come to a place where I reach a crisis, and I didn't know who I was.
We can help each other, perhaps.
Well, my job was stressful. In the first place, it was very stressful. And my job, I felt that sometimes the education system never gave thought to the Inuit values and beliefs and customs and the way they dealt with people, the way they disciplined. And I got to a point where I just got tired of fighting to be me, to be Inuk. I broke down and started to wonder who I am. Why should I try to prove I'm Inuk? Why do I always try and prove I'm Inuk? Why do I always have to fight, to struggle? Why I'm so ambitious, why I'm so assertive sometimes. I wanted to know where those attitudes came from. Okay, and I knew my mother was a very strong person. And so it started to bring questions about who was she? Who was she? The real Kikkik.
We will now swear in the accused. Just a minute. Do we know she's a Christian?
Yeah.
And what church?
Both of them.
A very wise precaution, my lord.
And when does she go?
When they come.
Will you stand up, Kikkik? Will you please state your full name for the court? Do you, Kikkik, swear by Almighty God that the evidence you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Kikkik, what is your husband's name?
Hello.
Hello.
And where is Hallow now?
Dead.
Can you please tell us what happened the last time you saw Hallow?
Drum dancing.
You still do some drum dancing?
Yeah, yeah. Which one is my father?
This is your father here. This is Hilo, and this is Manik. You'll have to excuse my pronunciation. Okay, and that's Utek.
He must have been this age when he died.
He was still a young man. But he was a small man, and he wasn't a very good hunter. Your father was an excellent hunter, good man in the country. And Utek relied on your father for his physical support. He was the practical man. And Utek was a dreamer, there's no question about it. And he thought, he believed that he could see the future. He would be called a shaman, you know, by outsiders. I don't know what your own people would call a man like that. But he thought he could see the future. And when it looked black, really black, he would become very depressed. And your father, you know, would buoy him up, would help him to come through these times. When I first heard the news of the accident, of the death of Utek and the death of your father and the terrible ordeal that your mother and you children went through, I was appalled, because I knew Utek well, and that he would kill the man who was his other self, because Halok was his other self. They were bound, these two together. For him to have done that required circumstances and a situation that I couldn't grasp.
The Ihalmut had almost no contact with whites until the 1940s. Then the Department of Transport built a radio station at our main campsite. That changed everything.
This must have been sometime in March of 1958 that a copy of a wire came to my desk, having first been addressed to the director of the branch, that simply and very tersely said, a person by the name of Kikkik has committed homicide. She's been arrested and is in custody in Eskimo Point, as it was called at that time. And that was it. There's no indication of any starvation or anything else that happened there. So I scratched my head and I said, well, this is unusual. The Inuit don't usually go around killing each other. So I consulted with some of my colleagues in the division, and it was decided that I should go up there. I started to check around and learned that sometime previously, I think it was the previous summer, a decision had been made to relocate that community from a place called Padlei Lake, some distance, I think about 200 miles distance from Inuk Lake, because they were starting to hang around the DOT radio station there and were seeking handouts and were becoming a nuisance. I suspect, in retrospect, that those DOT characters just got maybe a little tired of catering to the Inuit and started to inform bureaucrats in Ottawa that these people were just getting to be impossible, that they were harassing them, that they were depending on them, and that they should be got out of their hide. And the government just, without talking to the Inuktitut, simply responded. Sent a guy out, loaded them on an airplane, and shipped them off to Inuk Lake. And nobody asked the Inuit whether Inuk Lake was a good place to be for hunting, or even for fishing purposes, for that matter. So there you had approximately 12 families spread thinly around the lake and left to their own devices.
It was a very cold day, very stormy. Utak's family was camped next to us. Everyone was hungry. Utak's son had died of hunger. Halo was at the jigging hole in the lake. Utak came in and grabbed the rifle. An hour and a half later, he came back and said, go and look at Halo. I sent my daughter, and she came back and said, my father is dead, he has been shot. Utak held the rifle, and we started to wrestle. He tried to shoot me, but the bullet missed. I held Utak on the ground, and he said to me, let me go, I won't bother you now. And I said to him, no, I'm scared. I won't let you go. I won't listen. I sent my daughter to give me a knife. I stabbed Utak on the chest. But it wouldn't go in. My other child gave me a smaller knife, and I stabbed him in the chest. And I kept it there until he didn't move anymore.
Was there any communication at all that the department know that the people did not wish to be moved?
we knew that what the total population of caribou would be. We knew the consequences of repeated starvation. And what we were trying to do was to find some basis of the economy which would lessen their suffering. The people there did not have these facts at their disposal. They couldn't make the judgments on where their life would be most satisfying and indeed least hazardous 5 years down the road or 25 years down the road. And therefore, I think it would have been a very irresponsible decision for the government just to say, for the sake of, say, future people who rewrite history, that yes, we will do whatever the people on the ground say, however wrong we know the facts are on which they're basing their decision. However little they may know about the consequences of the alternatives before them. Here is something so not only complex on a changing a way of life, but on it hangs life and death. And I believe then, and not only this case but others, that someone had the responsibility to marshal the facts, try to explain the facts, but eventually, when it was life and death, the decision had to be made by government.
As far as the Department of Northern Affairs at that time is concerned, many of the people there were caught in a kind of Victorian time warp. The white supremacy, I think, shaped many of the attitudes there. Inuit were regarded as portable people. If the Hudson Bay Company needed to open a new post and they had some what they perceived to be good trappers at their previous post, they would simply bodily move people onto a plane and move them to a new location.
I think there was a difference of view in the department about the wisdom of moving the people. On the one hand, you had the fact that they were familiar with the area in which they were. That was the area they were familiar with. But on the other hand, the caribou were failing or had failed quite badly there. So if they were moved to another place, it would not be necessarily familiar to them, and you couldn't be sure that the next year the caribou would come in that place or that area. So it was very much of a gamble.
They moved us to a place called Inuk Lake. There was no caribou there and nothing to hunt. The winter came with hunger and people began to die. Hello? Most of the families tried to walk to Padlei, the nearest trading post. Our family and Utak's family were one of the last to stay behind.
Alo was regarded as a good provider, even in the desperate circumstances of Inuk Lake. They would spend hours on the ice jigging for fish and catching the occasional one. Alo at some point decided that they could not stay there any longer, that they would have to leave as well. Well, as far as Utak was concerned, that was a death sentence. Utak at that point picked up Alo's rifle inside the igloo, stepped outside, and through the storm walked down to the lake and shot Alo through the head.
That night we slept in the igloo. We had to travel. I prepared my kids because we had to travel the next day to Padlei. That's many sleeps away. Itluk and Kalak were walking. I was carrying the baby on my back. Nukaklakpang amaklugo nahak and angakak. I was pulling them in the skin. Angakaklu unyaklugi amengmon.
So she started on the travel again. By then she'd not eaten, I guess, for maybe 5 or 6 days. Along the way, Kikkik decided she couldn't pull that load anymore. She was too weak. They had spent the night again. She'd scooped up, she was too weak to build an igloo, so she scooped up a little cave in a snowbank. And they spent the night there. There was also a bit of a gale blowing, snow blowing. In the morning, I guess she looked at her kids and said, well, some of us maybe will make it, but all of us won't.
She remembers being dragged with her little sister on the skin, and she noticed that in her mind that she was going to make it. Somewhere peace came to her. She was very confident that she was going to make it. Twice she asked her mom, just let me walk. Let me walk so you won't have to drag two of us. Let me walk beside you. And the mother said no. Our mother said no. She had no clothes. The second time she asked her mom, let me go back and get my clothing. The second time the mother didn't say anything. She remembers her mother kissing her. She was crying and kissing both girls. And she said, I love you very much. And as her mother started to walk, she could hear the footprints go further and further away, but they weren't afraid. And then the little sister started to sing a little lullaby or something, being a little girl, sing a song. And after she sang a song, she didn't say anything else. Then she knew that she had died.
We were in an aircraft, an RCMP Otter, looking for Kikkik and 5 children, and had traveled around, and it was a nice sunny day, and the day we were traveling, the day before, had been very blustery. It was winter, it was cold. It was terribly cold, as a matter of fact. Around midday, I would say, in an area southwest of Padlei, we spotted what appeared to be our target on the ground. There were not 5 people, but we landed. We spoke to the people, spoke to Kikkik, and confirmed that it was she. And from that point, we asked, what about the other children that were missing, that weren't there? She said that they had died and that she had buried them back along the way, buried them in the snow. We left that piece of information for the moment, got her on board, and headed in for Eskimo Point. Thereafter, my job was with a dog team to go to Padlei Post, and from there I found the point with the dog team and my guide. Found the point where we had picked up Kikkik, and then we backtracked. We crossed some ice, actually a small slough or lake, whatever, and we're climbing up on the bank on the other side when the dogs picked up their ears. Just right after that, we heard a sound which sounded like might be some kind of voice or somebody.
She remembered that there was these stairs right in front of her, very grand, very glorious, spectacular stairs going way up high. And then she started to walk up. It was so beautiful, and it was very bright, so beautiful and warm and bright. And she was just about to step. She had her one foot up, and then she heard very, very, very far away a very faint sound. And then she felt her spirit rush to her body, and she was back on earth, into her body.
Sumabunga ananamni uwamni peroy lauk tumi aksurok luli bibalangman inu sikat siakublungam Kutip say marleong ananaga Uwam ning ayoy nalauk to Kutip say marleong ananaga Puigong nang ilaga inusya
We could hear commotion, we could hear voice. There was a caribou skin sleeping bag underneath the snow cake in a hole there. Opened the bag, and there was one of the girls, Anakata, who I established it was Anakata later, but it was her, and there was the body of a little girl. I presume, just by way of information, I kind of presume that Anakatha and her sister had to have been in that position for some 37 hours prior to that. And outside temperatures were somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 45 degrees below Fahrenheit. And yes, it was a difficult time for me. I was a young constable, at that point, very impressionable, and I know that at the trial I was described as a bit of a melodrama in my testimony. Well, it's probably true, but I was quite emotional and feeling something. Hey, oh my. Here's I don't recognize the faces, but I recognize the group of people they come from.
And you are?
I am Lou Liberty.
I'm Elisapee Karetak.
Elizabeth?
Karetak. I'm Johnny Karetak.
Johnny Karetak's little girl?
No, daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law? Oh my goodness, Johnny Karetak, our special constable at Eskimo Point.
And this is my sister. You found her in the snow.
No.
Yes.
No. Do you know who this is?
That's Anakatha.
Anakatha. Oh my. Oh boy, this is a So much time, eh? I'm really glad to see you, Anakatha. It's 41 years ago, something like that.
40, yeah.
I remember, I'm not going to do it now. Holding you up in the air like that at Rankin Inlet. And the thing that really, when I opened up that sleeping bag and saw Anakatha, that there was no tears. I don't know if it was joy or what it was, but there was a smile on Anakatha's face. You know, and there's no tears. In spite of everything that must have gone on in her heart and her mind, there was no tears.
Gentlemen of the jury, it is of the very essence of our system of justice that every accused person must have a fair trial. Our system is based upon that of Great Britain. For centuries, the British Privy Council has been the last court of appeal for all of Britain's colonies. It has applied common law principles in accordance with the evolution of local society. In this case, we have a very primitive Eskimo society. It hasn't changed very much. It's very insecure and unsettled. There is no policeman within 150 miles. Justice demands that you revert in your thinking to an earlier age to try to understand Kikkik, her life, her land, and her society. You, the jury, are well balanced. You have an accurate knowledge of the land and the people, and a great deal of common sense. You will now retire and consider your verdict. When you wish to return, please notify the constable.
I'd only been in the Arctic 2 years. I went in there the spring of '56, and this happened in '58. As a result of that, we had no preconception of what could have happened here. However, the Eskimos had lived in that land, and they knew, because they had been through dire straits and times in before. So they could comprehend why Kikkik took the action she did. And Penny and I knew that it was an action that would have been taken by any white person under the same circumstance in any city in Canada. It's a natural event that would take place.
There was nothing in my mind, or in the mind of most people, that there was anything else she could do. But what she did do, she learned from her daughter, Elisapee, that her husband had been shot, and she knew this man did it. This man had shot at her, and then he had fought with her. Now, somewhere I read, someone wrote, that Everett Tingley, myself, rhetorically said, what was she supposed to do? Go down to the corner store and phone the police? Well, she couldn't. So she did the only thing she could do.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you arrived at your verdict?
We have.
And what is your verdict?
We find the accused not guilty.
And do you all agree?
We do. Would you please tell the accused that the jury has found her not guilty?
May magok tek kunangok pahiya haun ngindak tawutin kan tugevit pahiya hau may man
Does she understand?
I'm trying to describe it. I'm saying she didn't kill anybody. She doesn't quite get that, you know?
Well, just tell her that she's acquitted. How do you explain this? Just tell her that she's not to blame for what happened.
All this time, my mother lived in an igloo prison behind the police station. She didn't see her children until after the trial. My mother's defense lawyer was Sterling Lyon. I had named my baby boy after him, but it took me many more years to get the courage to contact him in person. Then my brother and sister and I finally invited Sterling to Arvet to meet Kikkik's children and our family. This is Sterling. And my sister Inuktitut. And my brother Kala. Our extended family. My nieces and nephews.
Very nice to meet you all.
My brother and sister had been afraid of digging into the past. They needed to hear from Sterling first.
It's interesting that Inuktitut has no recollection of meeting her mom in Rankin just before the trial.
She couldn't even remember if that was her mother. She doesn't remember. She's completely blocked everything out. She doesn't even remember being at the trial.
It was a very poignant moment when the two of you met. I remember your mother was, she put her hands on you. And it was a very, very, very touching moment to see the two of you together.
But I don't remember anything about it. I can't even recognize you. I only know your name by the books, eh?
Yes, yeah.
No, I don't remember anything. Maybe I don't know why. When I grew up, I started to read the books, so that's why I got to start to get to know about my mom.
After the trial, Sterling had told our mother that she didn't need to talk about these things ever again. Galak remembers my mother saying that, so he always refused to talk about it. He's very emotional right now. He's so thankful to meet you.
Oh, well. I'm happy to meet you, Karetak, again.
He can only give you his thanks. He has nothing else to give. I grew up here in Arvet on the coast. The elders told me that if I ever wanted to understand what happened to my parents and all of us Ahelmut, I had to make a connection with the land and the life where we came from before the government moved us. So this year we went, Galak and Inuktitut and I, we flew to Enadai Lake. Two of the elders came with us. There are very few people left who remember what Ahelmut life used to be like. We camped at the old DOT radio station. This is where the Inuktitut camp used to be. The radio station was abandoned after a few years. It's an eyesore on the tundra. This used to be their camp, and during the summer when they had lots of caribou, they were drying caribou for their winter supply, and they had lots of meat. Then one day a bulldozer came up through here. They came into their tent and told them to go out. Once everybody was out, the bulldozer came and tore down all the tents, all the meat, all the food that they had prepared for the winter, and buried them. There was a plane waiting for them over there on the lake, and they were told to go to the plane. No explanation.
Ippi atata hitta maani imai uhania nuna kapata uang tamani hugapta ami huntuk ata ai uwi tapa apekata unia api ata ai uwi ilipili atata hi uhutu atata hi ami kuito ataptau katima pata hakiari pata ingawi pata hu pelwa pata uang ayu ta Kaya ay tataw uta kinaw yami lang uta.
In my darkest hour, I realized that in order to survive, I needed to forgive the people that had the best of intentions but made terrible mistakes. I promised myself to forgive those that hurt me. Not just for the sake of forgiving, but to understand what it is I needed to forgive, so that before I die, I have found a way to end the pain. I needed to come here to find out how my parents lived, interview the elders, interview people who were actually there when it was summer and hunting was good and food was plenty and when they were happy. I really needed to know. Perhaps from that, I can capture that contentment they had and perhaps find my own peace of mind here.
No name pamane no lame ang maya lamele hiko ke kulewa de hungayag maya
My mother remarried and settled in Inuktitut. Our older sister Inuktitut died nearly 20 years ago. It hurt so much that I made up my mind never to get close to anyone ever again. I cut myself off of my relatives until now.
Anana inu katingit anana ga inu yung ni natuak man ilera homot tako inna yunut ni gutin ni ayulek sunga isui gi yaw ni kahugis sunga.
When we bring our whole family together, out of Kikkik's 4 children, we have a community hall for 150 descendants of Kikkik, all of us renewing bonds and life together.